Hello and welcome everyone to episode 4 of the Casual Spikes podcast. I am your co-host Dakota, aka Karate23, here on YouTube. Joining me as always is my other co-host here, Randy from Modern with Randy. Say hi, Randy.
Hi, Randy.
Randy, did you know that there was something important happening this coming Monday?
No.
No, good. Neither did I until the entire internet exploded, and that was the discourse for the day. On Monday, March 11th, we're having a major, what is perceived to be a major ban and restricted announcement coming, presumably going to affect the Pioneer and Modern format in particular, very heavily. And so, with this episode, we're going to go over some potential unbannings, some definite bannings, and overall just kind of talk about what we'd want to see from the format and things like that as always. But before we get into that, of course, if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you want to catch future episodes of the Casual Spikes podcast, be sure to subscribe and ring notification bell and check out the playlist as well, where we have all our previous episodes up talking about different regional championships and talking about the Modern and Pioneer format. We're trying to put out an episode every Saturday, whenever possible. So if you want to be privy to that stuff, you got to subscribe to the channel, ring notification bell, all that fun stuff. Go ahead and check out Randy's channel as well. I'm going to try to find a link to your channel, Randy. Put it in the description of this video so people can go and find that, because I did have someone ask for it.
Uh, Hopefully put out a video here next Tuesday, or I guess Wednesday it will go up. But trying to revive my channel, maybe actually do some content, show that I'm not dead.
If I ever get like not lazy from editing, I'll put a counter of like I think I'll put up a video next week and then there's no video that goes up and just have a running count. Ding. So, Randy, I know that you've been playing like standard and stuff, and I kind of have an idea what's going on in standard. I can only assume it's relatively healthy.
Yeah, I mean for the most part, I don't think there's anything that's like looking to be banned or changed in standard. Um, Definitely nothing's coming off the standard ban lists, in my opinion. All four cards that are on it. But I mean, I think standard overall healthy. I don't know if the deck I'm playing is healthy for the format, but um, yeah, I think the format overall is relatively healthy. There's always something new going on, something's changing. I don't think there is a best deck in standard. I think there are good decks and there's like tier two decks like you have in every format, but I don't think there's nothing that's just like you're gonna take this to the tournament, you're gonna win for sure.
I can get behind that. It sounds like a healthy format to me. Something
Yeah,
I
I mean, I think standard is usually pretty healthy in the sense of usually there's like two or three like good decks, two decks are like subpar, and then you have a bunch of like people who are trying to play some kind of gimmick, and that's like pretty accurate for what standard is right now. Where I think there's two to three like decks you can take to a tournament and expect to do well with, but can still get like caught off guard, or you have bad draws, or you insert whatever happened to you to why you lost because it wasn't because you're a bad player, it's because clearly some outside luck factor is what caused you to lose.
Yeah, of course, and that's kind of the thing. Standard's been was known for a long time before we kind of got into like those more like tier point five formats. I won't even necessarily call them tier zero, where you can expect like two or three decks to be near the top of the meta game, as in like rock paper scissors kind of format, and then you just kind of
Mhm.
had everything else that were doing cool things that could kind of beat all of them, but definitely couldn't do it consistently. So I think that overall for a limited meta game in terms of what the other formats have to offer, I think that's a pretty good standard to kind of reach.
Yeah, like I'm very happy with where standard is. Like I don't care to play standard that much, just as a whole. But like it's not in the like I'm not gonna ever sit I don't sit down in a tournament and go this deck again, or like, oh god, I have to worry about playing against XYZ deck, or like I already know all I'm gonna see today is this deck. It's never anything like that bad.
I'm so glad. Like a real quick tidbit before we get into like the meat and potatoes of what we, at least the formats we like to play.
Hmm.
Um, the fact that during one of the NRG events that they live streamed, I did not watch a domain versus domain like mirror match like on camera, and having to sit next to it and kind of pay attention to what's going on seems miserable. But aside from that, like the format does look like it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, outside of that mirror match, any other mirror match is not miserable. Like if you have like the Esper Legend slash Esper or whatever BS you're doing, like those mirror matches are like interactive and fun. You're playing spells, like it's back and forth. The the blue white control mirror matches are less interesting, but it's a lot of like it depends on how skilled the players are to understand like when they need to be aggressive, when they don't need to be aggressive. So like it's a little more dependent on like the skill level you're working with on those players. Because like if you have two people who understand control very well, they'll understand like when to attack and when to be more aggressive and when to jam their spells. And not just like if you have two inexperienced control players, they'll sit back and forth and just look at each other for 20 turns. Like that's terrible. But like that's also like every control matchup in every format. If you have two people who don't understand how to play control or like they're new to playing control, they're gonna sit there and like, no, I gotta hold up my spells. I gotta hold my spells. I gotta hold my spells. Until eventually one of them's like, well, if I just start casting things, you can't have 12 counters, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, that's like one of the things that you learn early on when you're trying to play competitive is that just because the word instant or flash appears on your card does not mean the end step is the correct place to play it.
But if I don't play it on the end stuff of my opponent's turn, did I really play a card?
It's kind of funny, like when people are just like, I'd rather play this into open mana and have it potentially get countered than just like try to resolve it like right away
Mm-hmm.
is pretty, I mean, understandable because I think like when a lot of people teach people how to play, that's when they tell them like, yeah, like you can do this at any time. So it's like, oh, at the end of my opponent's turn seems like the great idea, not like they probably have spell pierce, counter spell, or whatever they tapped out. I'm gonna play this now so I resolve it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's neither here nor there. That's a lesson for another day. But overall, it sounds like at least standard is in a pretty good place. That probably doesn't need any immediate changes going forward.
No, I don't think there's any bans um that's gonna happen or anything like that's gonna happen. Not unless there's something crazy going on that I haven't seen, which I mean is very possible, but nothing seems broken.
Amen. So with that out of the way, then let's go ahead. We'll start with Pioneer first, and we'll kind of alternate between like modern. We have like a few different categories that we kind of put some of the cards in. When we'll talk about like the state of like both the formats, that's probably a great place to start, and which would kind of explain kind of some of the thoughts that we had, before we got to the show and everything. So, the state of the Pioneer and modern. I said in one of my videos that I think Pioneer is actually in a pretty good place right now, and if there weren't any changes, I wouldn't be disappointed. But I think modern is at the point where we need to do something, even if there's no major competitive events coming up. That we need to have people care about the format. If you want to give some of your thoughts on any of that.
Yeah, so I will. I guess I'll start with Pioneer real quick. I think that Pioneer overall is in a healthy form or in a healthy state overall. I think that there might be some issues with the Amalia combo as a whole because I think it does suppress like a lot of the aggro decks in the format, and I think that that's probably a net negative as a whole. I also think that Arc like Phoenix needs something changed with it or taken out or taken down a peg to some degree because we saw in the Pro Tour that anybody who wasn't playing Arc like Phoenix clearly had a plan for Arc like Phoenix. It was the most played deck, and it still had like a 50. It was like a 56 or 57 win percentage. Like
It's
it was the
something like
most played
that.
deck and had like almost a 60% winning percentage. Like that's huge because you had pro players who were clearly gunning for it if they weren't playing it. It wasn't like I'm gonna dodge this form. I'm gonna dodge this matchup. It's like nope. Arc Light Phoenix is gonna be like one of the like either most played deck or like top three most played decks. I'm gonna have to like get paired against it. It is very likely. I need to have a game plan for this. And they're like, I got my sideboard plan or I got my main deck plan or whatever they had planned, and they still just were like, I was still losing to Arclight Phoenix. Like that kind of says something about the deck. Obviously, right now the meta is really skewed. Like if you look at MTG top 8, it shows that Rakdos aggro is like 25% of the meta in the last 2 weeks. Which I mean, we all know why. Like Rakdos Vampires won the Pro Tour. Everyone's going to now want to try that deck out. They want to see how good it really is. Is it like the new broken deck? I don't think it's broken. I think it's just a different flavor of Rakdos. I think it's good. I don't think it's like we haven't cracked the meta, right? Like it's not like, oh, you're playing Rakdos Vampires or you're losing. Like, but so like that's going to be way higher than it normally is. Like if you go to a tournament here in like like next month for like a RCQ, you're not going to have over like half your field be Rakdos vampires. It's just everyone wants to try it out. But I think the format as a whole is healthy.
Yeah, I can see that. The only problem I have with that, Randy, is that you keep trying to get rid of my waifu, Amalia, and I said that you could potentially keep your cats, but you're trying to get rid of my girl pretty hard here, and I don't appreciate that.
No, no, I just want to get rid of the walker.
All right, fine, whatever.
You
I
can
guess
have your
I
girl.
don't get to go I don't get to go infinite, but I get to do some kind of like shenanigans, I guess. So I'll accept it.
I also think too with like how there was so many like extra games being played because of Amalia, they might hit something with Amalia because of that.
That's just big brain plays. Like I'm gonna start playing pump spells in my Is It Phoenix deck just so I can draw the game. Boom. Like, all right, game four, let's go.
As far as modern, I do think there is probably some issues on going on with modern. As much as I like modern and I like rhinos, I do think there's some issues with modern as a whole. But I also think that if you just like take out rhinos, the format doesn't get better. Like I think that rhinos is in the same problem where we had with Rakdos mid range and Pioneer a while ago, where like it was like a really heavily played deck. It plays a lot of cards, but it's a fair deck overall. And like, don't get me wrong, like Rhinos has like some broken hands and stuff, where it just feels like your decisions don't matter when you're playing against it. But like, it also is like the fairest Cascade deck ever, right? Like, you're paying 3 mana to put 8 power into play. That's not exactly like the most backbreaking thing you can do. Like, I've played against, uh, 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 prime
Wait,
time that's
oh
winning
yeah.
on turn 3 where they're attacking for 32 trampling damage. It's like cool. Glad I glad I sat down this game. Like I've done nothing. That's cool. And like there's been much more broken things in modern as a whole. So I think you need to figure out what you're doing with modern. I think Wizards has a tough is gonna have a tough challenge with that as a whole. I also think that if you just ban rhinos, then Titan and uh Yogg just becomes the best two decks in the format, not close. Because I don't think Rhinos is holding down this format as much as people want to argue that it is. I think that it's a consistent deck. It does well. People just gravitate towards it because it's a consistent deck doing well.
Yeah, I mean, the fact of like the nature of just Team of Rhinos specifically wanting to be interactive, like Violent Outbursts just kind of fit into that, where it's like, if this condition's met, do this. If this is happening, do that instead. And then you kind of always have like that option. I think it was just kind of played like this. I don't want to say necessarily a control deck, but like this kind of like tempo-y, like, okay, I have my window here. I'm going to do this. But then it also had
Mhm.
that mode of just like, without, not trying to be funny or anything like that, but like could literally just trample over your opponent by like
Yeah.
cascading multiple turns at a time. Not multiple times in a turn, but like one turn after the other after another. So I think that's kind of the experience people take away from rhinos, and they think that's what it is. And if Violent Outburst does get banned, it's probably going to be Team of Rhinos dying for like the sins of the other like unfair Cascade decks.
Yeah. I think I think the problem is like you said is the problem is like being able to go violent outburst end of my opponent's turn. They go counterspell or whatever. I'm like, nope, forces negation. Untap. I'm gonna play Charlotte Agent, make another 2/8 or 2/4/4s. I'm gonna attack you for 8. What are you doing? I have 18 power on board. 16 of it's trampling.
Oh yeah.
And like that feels broken or like unfair. And like I'm not gonna disagree. I also think that, Wizards printing a bunch of free spells is what made Cascade so well and so playable. Like, I don't think Cascade is inherently broken with what Rhinos is doing. I think the fact that we also have all these free spells is what makes it broken.
I mean, yeah, the fact that it gets access to spells that have like alternate cost, like the pitch elementals cost like 4 mana. Fury, when it was played, cost 5, so you're never going to cascade into it. And it
Hmm.
just, it saw it. It was an answer that Rhinos wanted and was just able to kind of like use its resources to like make sure that it could kind of cross the finish line. Not that it really doesn't need that much help, probably not, but it was obviously helpful nonetheless.
Yeah.
Plus, Cascade itself is just kind of like, is that like a mechanic that, do we want to keep? Like, it's funny that Storm is like one of those mechanics. It's like we can never like reprint this on a card, but then like it does see it get reprinted or whatever, and like weather the storm and some other shit. But then you have like Cascade where it's like, okay, well, like we've seen this be busted like in different versions of decks. Like, should we really do this? And the answer is just like, oh yeah, totally. Like we can do this.
Yeah.
It's
Like
just
it's just
weird.
it is. Like for sure Cascade should not be like a mechanic. It
We've
definitely was a mistake.
we even made a Cascade adjacent mechanic, and then it survived all of like a month or two in Pioneer, and like there's still a copy, like a version of that deck, like out there in like the format. It's not doing all that well, but still, the fact that it exists, is this like adding anything to the Magic experience?
Well, they made Cascade but better too, like with the Discover.
True.
Because Discover was like, all right, well, you don't want to cast it, it goes to your hand.
Yep.
Great. Like, because that was the problem. Like, that was the problem. So it's gonna date myself with the Jund when they had Bloodbraid Elf, right? Is like, oh, I'm gonna cascade Bloodbraid Elf into spot removal. Well, it's an empty board. Guess they'll put you to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And Discover's like, what if you just got to keep that spell for later when they play their creature inevitably? You
Yeah,
mean it, Wizards? Oh boy! Like,
that
cool.
feels like something that could have happened like a first iteration of like Cascade, and then like the fix would be like, okay, like kind of like getting to draw the card is a little bit
Yeah,
OP, so like let's just, you put it to the
yeah.
bottom, you either play it or you don't.
Discover 100% feels like what Cascade was originally designed as, and we're like, oh no, man, you can't have that. And they're like, you're right, we'll change it, and like that's what Cascade was. And then for some reason, someone was just like, man, you know how there's a Discord about Cascade? What if we make it something different? And like, well, let's see what they were doing before we made Cascade. Discover that looks good. Slap it on.
They went into the basement, the little dungeon at like Wizards headquarters, and they found like the lost papers from like a Lara block, and like that was, it's like, okay, like this is it.
Yeah,
My God. So yeah, wow. My ADHD definitely kicked in because I forgot where we were at, and I remembered exactly where we are. We're absolutely just shitting on rhinos for the rest of the show. But yeah. So I agree with you. Modern is definitely in need of some changes. What exactly those are supposed to be, I can definitely give my opinions, my thoughts, just from previous like statements that they've put out about what they want to do, is how I kind of tweaked like my ban list. Now with what they've actually done versus what they've said are two totally different things. So uh, I don't know. We could be like way off base on like what what we think they're gonna do, and I think would be correct to do. But they've also kind of let us down the last few times too. So we'll see what happens.
fair enough. Do we want to start with Pioneer on what we think they're going to ban, or or what we
Oh
think we could
shoot.
come off the ban list? I
Oh
guess.
yeah, we're definitely gonna start with unbannings because I think these are gonna be a lot of fun. Like the banning part, like we know that like stuff's probably going to get banned. And I don't, like, for full disclosure, I don't think anything is going to get unbanned from any format, and you probably shouldn't unban anything from any format until you get to a point where like this format is like diverse and it's healthy, whatever that benchmark is. Like,
Hmm.
what can we introduce to the format that would be kind of a fun inclusion for it, that could create like its own archetype or something like that. So specifically for this list coming up, I don't think any of these cards are going to get unbanned, but it's kind of fun to speculate.
I think one of my cards might get unbanned.
D-
I legitimately think I have found the answer to the Phoenix problem.
Randy, if it's a bad take, I am going to bully you.
All right. So step one, we unban the blue fetch land. No, no, no.
All
I'm
right.
not, I'm not, I'm
So
not, no,
that's the episode. We're done here.
no. So my legitimate thought process and my legitimate take on this is I think that we should unban expressive iteration,
All right, let them cook.
but we should ban treasure cruise.
Okay.
So expressive iteration got banned because it was too good in Phoenix. Because you can, expressive iteration into finding into getting a spell and getting to treasure cruise delve, and like you're up so many cards, right? Like you just chained together like 6 cards. So like that's bad.
Mm.
100%. Don't think that we should have expressive iteration and the draw 3 in the same meta. But I think that we should unban expressive iteration and then ban treasure cruise.
Okay.
I think that would slow down the Phoenix deck just slightly, so that way it's not so omnipresent, and it would also help a lot of the other decks in general. Like I think it would give them more card selection and things like that to help out the other decks.
Yeah, I can see at least theoretically the Phoenix deck getting slowed down a turn because like on turn 3, when they mill 4 cards, they get something back and they just go like play another spell, treasure cruise, like get back my birds, like they're gassed back up, they're set back up to do it. Express iteration costing 1 more mana, a different color of mana as well, and then
And only
not
gives them 2 cards.
yeah, and even then, like you only get that second card if you're able to like play it like that turn. So like a turn 2 iteration isn't even all that good, and like a turn 3 iteration isn't like the best either because you can't get anything back from the graveyard that turn.
Exactly. So I think that is the correct answer to slowing down Phoenix while also getting a card off the ban list. And I think, to be honest, I think Treasure Cruise needs to be banned. I think that we have run the simulation we wanted to, where we want to see can Treasure Cruise survive in a non uh fetch land format, and the answer is still no.
And I think too, like the other one, dig through time, I think is legal still. I'm trying to scroll through
It
real
it,
quick
it
and
is
look at.
100% legal and sees 0 play.
Yeah, so I
So
think
the control decks used to play it, and then we made Deluge, and that's just better.
which is like insane to like tell somebody that like a 4 mana draw 2 that then you pay like a full price dig through time to dig through time is like better than dig through time.
Yes, yes, it is. It is wild that that is true.
But I mean, yeah, like okay, iteration could be something that you could convince me on for uh for that purpose. Potential
Um,
unbannings, other ones that I had on the list here that we kind of ran through. Veil of Summer.
yeah,
Uh,
I think Veil of Summer could be unbanned. I think it would give you a reason to not be just red black as a mid range deck. Like there's no reason to play green in this format. Essentially, like the decks that are playing green are the Greasefang deck.
we have Amalia and we have Lotus Field.
Yeah, but Lotus Field's not playing green because it's playing green. It's green to be cheating.
Yeah, because we get Archdruid's Charm or whatever.
Yeah. So I don't count Lotus Field. So like you have Amalia and you have um Greasefang. And Greasefang I don't think is a real deck in Modern or Pioneer anymore.
Hey, you know what? I managed to run into it, and it always manages to kind of smack me around, give me the good old 1-2.
So according to MGG Top 8 in the last 2 months, Greasefang was a whopping 2% of the meta.
Oh yeah, holding it down.
It is like less than 1% in the last 2 weeks. But I mean, like I said, everyone's on Rakdos No, Rakdos Vampire, so that doesn't really count.
Yeah, and I think probably the other combo decks that actually win the game on turn three is a lot better than theoretically winning the game on turn three.
Yeah, but I would like to see I would like to test Fail Summer out again.
Yeah, I think just that being, I mean, I not even necessarily for the your spells can't be countered mode of it, but if we're going to have, other bullshit in the format. I mean, I could see Lotus Field and like Amalia combo wanting to like abuse this, so maybe that's good enough reason to not bring it out. But if you're planning on getting rid of something from both of those decks or whatever, then like them having a way to play around counter spells is maybe lessens the blow a little bit of like getting rid of like a key piece from either deck.
Hmm.
Potentially just able to kill off like Amalia combo. Like I think if you ban, I mean, if you keep Amalia around, like sure you can nickel and dime people with like life gain and stuff, but so what? Like
Yeah,
just play vampires and I get a 6/5 on turn three.
exactly. Um, I think that I think the fairy can be unbanned. I don't think there's a reason to unban it.
All right, let them cook.
So I think it can be unbanned. I don't remember the reason why Teferi was banned, to be 100% honest.
Probably just I think a product of like the time where I think just everybody was tired of like Teferi just existing. I
Probably.
I mean, and to be fair, for what it's worth, I think the fact that you have kind of those like you have a planeswalker that just says like, okay, my opponents can't interact with me, and it's gonna be able to like force through whatever you want to, or even like as a control deck. Like, I know it's not like a slam dunk in the mirror. You play this on turn three, the game's over because then they just play theirs, and we're just staring at each other. But I'm sure just the lack of interactivity is kind of why he's there.
More than likely. Like I said, I think it can be unbanned, but I don't think it adds anything to the format to why you would unban it.
Now, here's one that I think I'm a pretty big fan of, and that's the Leyline of Abundance. Now that like mono green devotion doesn't have essentially a 75 card starting deck filled with silver bullets, I think if they're just going to be like this big green like play things, like just play dorks and stuff, like I think Leyline Abundance is like okay.
Maybe I don't know. I think I'm gonna try on it still. I don't know if it can honestly come off the ban list.
I mean, yeah, and for what it's worth, I think that these would be the cards that like could potentially be safe to bring back, but I don't think any of them will come back anytime soon. Like I think
Yeah.
as far as a card getting unbanned this year in either format, just with how things have went, is probably very unlikely.
All right. So once upon a time, but we banned Lotus Field.
Why must you burn everything that I love?
Because Lotus Field is the almost like is a god awful deck to play against.
Could you imagine just like playing against Lotus Field? Like literally, it's like we play 15 lands in this deck, and like Once Upon a Time is just going to find our two lands that have to produce mana until we find Lotus Field.
Exactly. Like let's not. Let's not.
Sorry,
Um I
yeah.
don't think I have anything else that I think could be coming off or be interesting to come off.
Oh, I think those were the big ones. And looking through everything, I just found that the green is just absolutely like heinous. Apparently, an early Pioneer.
Oh yeah, it had Uro, it had Oko, it had Once Upon a Time, it
Or
had Veil of Summer.
I mean, Kethis is like green.
Yeah.
I mean,
Leyline Abundance.
yeah, I mean, even the cards that we outlined that were like these could come back under these conditions, like are green cards minus like expressive iteration,
Mhm.
and like these cards were banned like relatively early in Pioneer's life too, when the format was
Oh
still
yeah.
getting weekly bans.
Hmm. That was a fun time to play Pioneer. That was probably the best time to play Pioneer, in
You
my
say
opinion.
that, and until you were playing like mono black aggro, and then they just banned Copter, and I'm like, well, fuck. Mm,
I
that
mean,
was a lot of
fair.
fun.
Fair.
I don't even think. I mean, like even now, it's kind of crazy to think that Copter got unbanned, and it was like pretty hyped, and now it's just kind of like it's a good
I,
role player in the format.
I think it was a mistake.
What?
Hmm.
Randall.
Mistakes.
Uh,
I do. So the only thing I think that will come off, or if they decide to slow down, Phoenix, I can see expressive iteration actually coming off the ban list.
I think eventually it probably could. I guess thinking about it now, it would probably be like, let's ban Cruz, see how the deck performs, and then it's like, okay, if it's like under expectations or whatever, it's performing like way worse, and they want to give it something, like iteration would probably be good. I don't know. I say that, and then they end up actually doing it, where they ban the Cruz, but they unban iteration.
I just want to know if that happens on Monday. I'm buying all the lottery tickets.
And I'm buying like every foil etched like expressive iteration that any store has within a 10-mile radius,
Fair.
which
I already got mine.
which for me is in the middle of a cornfield by a way.
Mm.
So potential pioneer unbannings. I think
Uh,
some
from
pretty good candidates on there.
so, do you think anything's gonna get banned in Pioneer?
Yeah, I guess if we want to just go to the what we think is going to be banned in Pioneer,
I mean, that would be good to the modern ban list. Either one.
we can do that. We'll talk about like potential bannings. So Pioneer, personally for me, again, like if no changes happened, this would probably be one of the times where I'd be okay with kind of letting the format play out and see what happens. I guess if there's going to be anything banned, I could see like Treasure Cruise being a card that gets banned. I don't know if I'd want to see anything from Rakdos banned. Like maybe Fable the Mirror Breaker. I think is just like one of the best cards to be playing in the format, even if it's like there's a different 3 mana spell that feels like it wins the game in Rakdos. But I think that Fable is like okay to go.
So my only argument for Fable is the fact that I think it stops the other mid-range decks from being played. In the sense of like there's probably a really good like green black mid-range deck out there that will never see play as long as Fable's in the format because there is nothing better than Fable on turn 3 for the mid-range decks.
It's an insane card. I mean, it's from some of like the pro players and stuff before I think it's either before or after the pro tour. They said that like Fable the Mirrorbreaker is probably like the best card in the format. Like that or Thoughtseize is like the best card to be playing.
Hmm. And you can't ban Thoughtseize. Like that's just not a card you ban.
No, I think for unfortunately for a lot of people, Thoughtseize is going to be a card that probably never sees the ban list.
No.
If it,
I would like to see Fable banned if only for the reason I want to see what the other mid-range decks are viable.
okay, that's understandable. I can see that.
But
Aside from that, I mean, I think that you could ban some cards from like the from like Amalia combo or like Lotus Field. And it's just all dependent on like, do you want these to exist? If yes, then don't touch them. If no, then you know, do you want them to absolutely not exist? Or, yes, but you can't have these things. Like I could see Emergent Ultimatum. Like you just you force Lotus Field to have a different way of winning the game besides just having kind of that like I win button,
yeah,
90% of the time. So like Emergent Ultimatum is like a card that I could see going for that reason. And then I guess like Amalia, if you absolutely don't want it there, you ban Amalia. If you want it to kind of exist, then I don't know. Find a way to keep the combo, ban Prosperous Innkeeper. It's not the first time we've banned cards that are like some more play a support role than they do like actually facilitating a combo.
yeah. I think my in my ideal world, I would like to see Fable banned. I want Treasure Cruise switched out for Expressive Iteration.
Okay, okay.
I like to see idealistically, I would like to see Lotus Field disband.
Okay.
I think that it's a miserable deck to play against. I think that it's like there are arguments for banning some of these combos have been like, oh, it doesn't promote good gameplay, it doesn't promote fun. I don't know anyone who's played against Lotus Field and like that was a fun experience for me.
Yeah, it kind of sucks being on the other side of it.
And as much as I don't want to tell you that I want your girl banned, I want your girl banned. I want Amalia banned, if only for the reason I think that deck alone hinders the other aggro decks from performing well.
Okay, yeah, I could see that.
If she doesn't get hit, that's fine. I think that's also okay. I think we can learn to play around it or do whatever. Of everything I just said, I think nothing will happen.
Yeah, I think more likely that nothing happens than any one of those things, even individually, probably happens.
I think I know this is like a super stretch, but I think the most realistic thing to happen is uh Predator Crews being banned and especially Federation getting unbanned. I think that's the most realistic thing to happen.
I'm kind of surprised, honestly, because now that I'm kind of thinking about it more, like Immersion Ultimatum just kind of seems like a slam dunk like ban.
Yeah, but Wizards basically like never wants to touch anything out of Lotus Field.
Please, we ended up getting what's it banned, Underworld Breach. They got rid of my boy,
I love that Underworld Breach is banned in Pioneer and Legacy and Legal and Modern.
and it's just okay in Modern too. This
It
is the
doesn't see
crazy part.
play even. Like it sees play, but like it doesn't see play. Like if you sit down against that deck, you're like, oh, haven't seen this deck in a while.
I will say, like, peak Modern to me just felt like Grixis Shadow, but like it had the Underworld Breach package, and it was just a fair breach where it's like I'm gonna draw like 6 cards with like Mishra's Bauble, and then pass the
Mm-hmm.
turn. I mean, like that's pretty unfair, but you know, compared to like what we see in the modern format currently, like that was pretty fair.
Yeah.
But Pioneer sounds like overall, we're not expecting changes, but like there is potential changes to be made if they so choose to go down that road.
And Fable, you cowards.
So, Pioneer, probably at least for a lot of people, is like the one that, like we're not really like worried about it. I'm not super worried about it right now, which I guess
No.
I probably should be because modern, like we said, is not going to have any RCQs or anything like that for a while. But
Yeah.
I think at least Pioneer has like something that resembles like a healthy metagame, and I think Modern is just kind of like okay, we're in need of something to be done here.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
So Modern, I guess we'll start with cards that can be unbanned, and then something fun that we were kind of doing, just like cards that like absolutely can't come back. I think that's just kind of like a fun, absolutely just a fun discussion to have.
Just to end the Discord now, Dark Depths can't come back. Anybody who thinks it can, I implore you to get your head checked. Get your head checked. Watch any gameplay of no bandless moderns. Um, watch Dark Depths and Legacy do well. The deck, the format that plays Wasteland has um Swords to Plowshare and plays a plethora of the other removal spells that can get rid of Dark Depths, and the deck still wins tournaments. Just throwing that out there.
Hammer sounds great and like no ban list as long as you don't get Chalice on one. Which sounds like every deck in the format has like if my opponent doesn't have Chalice on one, it's great.
Um,
So modern, we'll start with we'll go down the list. So like we have cards that could potentially see an unban, and then we'll go cards that can't come back, and then we'll kind of give our ban predictions for that format.
All right. I guess I'll start it off with Ancient Den and all the other artifact lands. I think they can come back. I think that it does power up scales. I'm well aware that scales gets a boost, but I don't think it is broken. I don't think it was going to break the format. I don't think scales becomes tier zero. And I've always heard that the biggest argument for like or the biggest argument I've always heard was that the reason why those lands can't come back is because it just powers up Mox Opal too easily.
Mm-hmm.
Mox Opal's gone. It needed to probably go before it got banned. But I think that we can bring the artifact lands back. I think it would be interesting to see what happens. I think that maybe it does some interesting things. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we unban those, and then 2 weeks later, what was going through your mind? But I think that if they get unbanned today, the format doesn't really change.
Yeah, I don't think that the artifact lands are going to be super. I mean, at least I don't think like propelling anything to like absolutely busted status that is either already not busted. I don't know, whatever. There's no real artifact decks that are like super crazy. I mean, if you want to give affinity like a small bump and then some like scales or whatever, like so be it. Like I can live with that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably the most likely I would say of like all of these, and not the one that people
Also,
want.
burst from below.
No, not Bridge from Below. Keep that off. Keep it banned.
No, burst from below gets unbanned today. Literally, no deck changes.
I don't want Bridge from Below legal. I don't want it. Like I'm scarred from that. That is PTSD at its finest.
No, burst from below died for Hogak sins
It turns out Hogak is just a really
and
good
made the
card.
deck better when it got banned.
Of the two cards, crazy enough, like
No, I think
I'd rather have Hogak back than Bridge, just because I love that card. I just love it.
go back to your vintage, sure.
Fun fact, that was like the first one. I shouldn't even say first legacy deck, but that's the legacy deck I qualified for the Mana Trader Swiss for, and I want to say like I made like top 16 or top 32 of their tournament playing the Bridge from Below Hogak like dredge deck.
Oh, nice. I gotta actually play in those events.
I know. I have to pick up a legacy deck. I think I'm just gonna play Reanimator, and if I just lose like 4 games in a row, I'm done. I don't want to think.
All right.
But
Uh,
so artifact lands probably pretty safe, at least worth a shot.
mhm.
So as like a preface for this one first, because I know that I got quite a bit of hate for saying this. So obviously, the reason why we had the bannings we had in December were to promote aggro decks existing in the format and kind of like pushing them in a direction without taking away most of like the good like small creature removal whatever, or at least that's what like what they said contextualized with the ban list. If we don't see any like the One Ring go, if we don't see Bowmaster or any of this other stuff go, I think Glimpse of Nature needs to come back, because if we're gonna have busted everything else and aggro decks are just gonna kind of suck, then just give me Glimpse of Nature. Like if there's some weird like these things cause 0 mana, we're gonna play a bunch of these and then we're gonna give them like Crater Hoof, fine, whatever, like do that. But like even if that does exist, I think it's still okay, given like what's currently legal right now.
Yeah, I like to see Guns of Nature in modern and just kind of see what happens with it. I think that maybe I think there's gonna be a tier two deck that comes out of it, but I don't think it's gonna be a busted deck. I could be wrong, obviously. I've been wrong before, but I would like to see Glimpse of Nature.
Yeah, it's definitely a card that I think people see it and it's like this could go really wrong. But if something like elves or whatever, like some other green base like cheap creature deck that can kind of like snowball mana, gets like Glimpse of Nature, it's like, do we even really care? Like Bowmaster's still legal in the format. You're just gonna trigger Bowmaster and shoot your opponent 20 times and kill them while they're still drawing cards. Like I think if there's like for every turn that Elves plays where it gets a glimpse of nature draw and then it just draws like 20, 30 cards and puts like half their deck into play is kind of like counteracted by the number of times that you're going to draw a glimpse of nature and you have no creatures to play.
Yeah, like I said, I think that it's not it could be broken. I think it'd be interesting to see. So my next one is Green Sun Zenith with the preface of Eyes What Prime
Oh,
Time banned.
so Green Sun Zenith can come back, but only if
This
Primetime gets
this banned
banned.
Prime Time. Yeah, I
Jeez.
want to see Green Sun Zenith back in Modern, and I think that Primeval Time or Prime Time has like had its day in the sun for way too long. Like the deck is finally picking up actual popularity, and like people are starting to realize how good that deck is. And I think this deck should have been banned multiple years ago. Like this deck has always flown under the radar just enough since the banning of Summer Bloom, with just not enough popularity that's why it hasn't been banned. But like the deck is consistently good and consistently well, and always just it just slowly has picked up extra pieces over the years. Just like, oh, I'll take that. Oh, that's another good one to add. Oh, add that to the deck. And it's just like, yeah, let's just ban it. Like let's kill that deck. Give me Green Sun, and let's have some actual fun.
I like I'm still like I chuckle over the story where your Titan opponent is just like that's unfair. That shouldn't be legal in the format. As you playing Rhinos and like they just killed you on turn 3 in game 1.
Yeah, yeah. Like this is such bullshit. As I make 8 power on my opponent's end step and then make another 10 power on my turn. And it's like, yeah, man, you killed me on turn 3 through interaction. One of us is doing actual broken shit. I'll let you, the viewers, decide which one's actually doing things broken.
And
The
they
guy making
said,
8 power on turn 3 or the guy winning on turn 3?
and he's just like that shouldn't be legal. As he had like
Exactly.
as
Like,
he made like
no.
6 amulets on like turn 3 and made like 12 lands or
Yeah.
12 mana off a land drop.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, look at this. Like, look at what I'm dealing with. You're like, I'm dealing with my own stuff. Like, not what I'm dealing with. Just 3 amulets. Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, all right,
But
never mind.
anyway,
What I'm going through
anyway,
is not nearly as
moving
bad
on
as
from
that.
my yeah.
Um, so Randy, you told me to put Second Sunrise on
Uh,
here.
yeah. Okay, okay. So my entire argument for Second Sunrise is I think it's just a bad deck. I think that currently as Modern sits, it just wouldn't see play. There would be like 3 people who would have immediate boners hearing that Second Sunrise got unbanned, and then they would just get crushed by the fact that like Force of Negation and these free spells are just all like destroying them. But I would like to see it unbanned just to watch this. I want to see the egg players just end up with egg on their face going, yes, this is our time, and then just like 003 in their next tournaments.
Yeah, might be a little bit out of practice from playing eggs. It's been a while.
Uh, I will also preface by saying Second Sunrise is never getting unbanned because on the off chance that it actually is good, it's miserable to play against. Trying to
Yeah,
think if there's anything. Oh,
we had like
what's
three more on here that I have.
Splinter Twin could get unbanned.
That's it. End of story. Like whatever. Give the
Yeah, no,
people what
this
they
is in the
want.
story. Just
Give
yeah. Honestly, I want Splinter Twin unbanned because I don't think it's gonna be broken.
give the people what they want. Just say, you know what, fine, here's your toy, and if it ends up being too good, you take it away from them. Like, see, I can trust you with it.
Exactly.
Uh,
What else did you have on here for like
Ponder,
actual unbans?
Ponder.
Oh yeah, I like to see Ponder. I don't know if you can actually unban it. I want to see Ponder back. Give me more blue spell. Like, I'm gonna lose my rhinos. Give me something.
Well, no, because like the last one I have on here is absolutely giving you something, and it's Blazing Shoal because you like got your keyboard all sticky from
Oh,
talking about it.
okay. Okay. So, so the Blazing Soul can definitely not be unbanned after 5 minutes of looking at it. Um, so I love Infect, and I love playing Infect. For anybody who doesn't know that, um, and I didn't get to play during Blazing Soul Infect, because I was a poor kid, and I was like, just give me back Blazing Soul so Infect can be playable, and I was like, I'll play Blue Black Infect, and then I thought about this for all of like 5 minutes and built a deck and go, oh no, that's just like the best deck in the format. Hang on. So just a quick rundown for the viewers. Blazing Soul, if anyone doesn't know, is 2 red and X, and it's an instant arcane spell. And then you can exile a red card with converted mana cost X from your hand rather than play the mana spell or play the spell's mana cost. And target creature gets plus X plus 0 to end turn. So we're gonna play all of 8 infect creatures, being Inkmoth Nexus. We're gonna get to play Thoughtseize for black. We're gonna get to play Preordain. We're gonna get to play Consider. We're gonna get to play Fortune Negation. We get to play 4 Subtleties. We get to play 4 Griefs. We get to play Counterspell in this deck. Like we just get to play everything, and then our Blazing Soul targets, like because we're gonna play uh Progenitus, and then there's another. I'm sure I can find another blue black spell or blue black creature or 5 mana creature that I can do this with to or 5 color creature I can do this with, which will also let's pitch those to our subtleties and griefs. And we're just gonna I can't have
I can't think of any off the top of my head,
Blazing
and
Soul
I'm gonna make sure
as
they
much
all
as I
get
want it.
banned. I'm gonna make sure they all get
Yeah,
banned.
but Blazing Souls shouldn't be allowed, is what I learned.
I,
But
I, Potentially, probably, maybe, definitely so.
yeah, no, we can't unban that as much as I want it to be unbanned.
Uh, and probably at least I thought was gonna be our most obvious list of all of these. Before we get to like the actual unbannings, cards that we were gonna come back and you snack the rug from underneath of me because I have Greed Sun Zenith at like the very top of it. Just regardless, I was a staunch
I mean,
defender. I was a staunch defender of Greed Sun Zenith. Like this can come back. This will be okay. Even like with Titan, it's like well, Titan benefits sure, but like everything else, I think gets a better. But now in a world where like Titan is like in the top 5 and could potentially be a top 3, top 2 deck, Green Sun Zenith absolutely can come back.
uh, yeah, I mean, I'd also argue that like I don't think Chrome Box can come back. Deathbright Shaman definitely can't come back. I need people to stop saying that.
I will not stop
Um,
saying that, but continue.
Listen, I played with it in Legacy and during Modern when it was played or legal. Like it is a 1 mana planeswalker.
You guys also open up attractions and put stickers on your cards.
We do not. I do not.
Well, you don't, but
Uh,
I have so Uro. I think you named like that
yeah, or okay, come back.
can't come back. Jite,
Yeah, GTA definitely can't come back.
especially if you're trying to push the
People
narrative
who,
of creature decks.
yeah, um, Skull Clamp can't come back either. That's just broken on so many levels.
Blue Summer Bloom for the reasons that Titan exist. We cannot have Summer Bloom.
Yeah, like let's just guarantee Titan can win on turn 2, huh? That seems good.
Even like something like Bridge from Below. I mean, we can go through like the whole like list and stuff, but like the big ones that I had here were like Green Sun Zenith, Uro, Jite, Bloom, and Bridge from Below.
I mean, I think Bullstorm could come back. I think like like the two Moxes can't come back either. Mox Opal, Chrome Mox.
Yeah, they're
I mean, Chrome Mox I think was banned at the beginning of or the beginning of Modern. I think it was ever actually in Modern.
I think you're right.
Um, and Mox Opal can't come back. Like they're just too good. Like three Moxes are bad.
I,
Hot take.
I wonder if like Chrome Mox, just like two for winning yourself to get additional mana. Like I don't know. I'm sure like is it could find a way to like be good with that just because like they snowball the mana with like Ragavan. Just imagine getting to dash a Ragavan on turn one. Busted.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know if actually,
Yeah,
but at least like the idea of it now is just like my opponent can't interact with this. So like if they force negation it, then I just
yeah.
play Ragavan. Whatever.
I also think the fact that like Chrome Mox is also good too in the sense of like it has the it has the ability of like so if you're trying to bait out a counter spell too, like a force negation or whatever, like you can cast Chrome Mox and then if they don't counter it and you don't actually want to pitch anything, you can just put Chrome Mox into play. Like there's nothing
Yeah,
stopping you.
just
It
imprint
doesn't
nothing.
actually you don't have to imprint. It says you yeah, it's you may remove a non-artifact, non-land card from your hand, but you don't have to. Like you can just make it a zero mana, like counter bait spell. So like there's like zero cost to that essentially.
Yeah, Chrome Mox can just stay banned.
That being said, if they heavily, because right now we're looking at a $90 card.
My God, Chrome Mox, what are you doing, buddy?
Yes, it's $90 with three reprints or three printings, the original Mirrodin, Eternal Masters, and Double Masters, and the lowest listing is $87.
All right, reprint Mox, but in something that nobody cares about. Well, that people care about, but people don't care about.
Um, that being said, what do we think is going to get banned from Modern?
Oh boy. Uh, call it the Great Reset of like 2024. Uh, so as much as I want to say Rhinos is like the fair version of Cascade, I think like taking away the instant speed Cascade is what is likely to happen.
Yeah,
As far
I
as
think
any,
Violent Outburst is likely to get banned.
I think anything else that happens after is not necessarily guaranteed. I think Violent Outburst is all but like on. I think it's on its deathbed right now. Honestly, I think that's just like the easy. I think the easy target to kind of hit. That said, there's also been other ban lists where I thought like, yeah, this card's a slam dunk to get banned and it didn't get touched. So take that for what you will.
That's fair. I do think that if we ban Violent Outburst, it's going to lead to more decks. Like I think it's gonna like I think you ban Violent Outburst today, you then have Yawgmoth. This I think becomes the best deck in the format.
Yeah. To be fair, I do have like quite a few cards that I would want to see banned, just for the fact of like we're just gonna hit everything at the top and we're gonna see what shakes out from it. So to
So,
real
what all
quick,
do you want to see banned?
so like super quick in no particular order. So Violent Outburst I think is all but gone, and if that happens, then I would want to see Orcish Bowmaster, the One Ring, and Grief for sure gone. And I could go for like a Summoner's Pack too. Now I'm thinking about it, because specifically fuck Titan
That would be a wild
to get rid of Pact
five
or
cards banned.
it would be,
Just
and
the
it's only for the fact of like and this is kind of off the precedent of like when we had Hogak as like the best deck, and it was like, yeah, we're just gonna ban Hogak, and it's like, well, if you do that, then Phoenix just goes back to being the best deck, so let's hit something from that deck. I think that you have
mhm.
a decent. So after like Rhinos is gone, I think it's pretty closely packed of like the next 4 or 5 decks being played. So you hit uh, Living End by just hitting the Violent Outburst. Like it's still a deck, but like the deck building is a little bit more. There's a little bit more context and like changing that needs to happen. So it's probably a little bit worse now. You get rid of the One Ring, and Bowmaster pulls double duty. You have like one toughness creatures that can exist and aggro decks that can exist, while also cutting off the consistency of Yawgmoth and the Titan deck and Summoner's Pack just because, again, fuck Titan, extra hard, and Grief because fuck Rakdos. And also Living End
Yeah,
as
and then I
well.
think, yeah, side effect.
I think the
I
main
think,
thing would be
I think
Living
if,
End, but and then like
yeah,
Rakdos just yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah. No, you're good. I think then too, like you have Murktide becomes more playable, and that's like if Murktide like your best deck in the format, like that's not a bad thing. That deck has 50% against everything in the field. Like it's a 55% deck. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
not exactly it does nothing broken. It has some like it has some like feel bad starts, obviously, where you're just like, oh, turn one Ragavan, I'm just and then you don't have like you have to go turn one tap land and you're like, all right, cool, my opponent just snowballed this game and I had nothing to stop it. Like that feels bad. But like outside of those games, like the deck never feels oppressive.
Yeah, and
Unless you were playing when Murktide first came out and no one decided to play any answers to Murktide.
see, I think if we're talking like Murktide versus like Rhinos, where it's like they both play interactive, but then like the best draw from like Murktide is if like you don't answer my one toughness thing in a format made to like chew up one toughness things, then like they get
Mm-hmm.
kind of get to snowball that advantage. Where like Rhinos is like the again we just cascade for 2 or 3 turns in a row and overpower our opponent that way. So I think just from like the paper test, I think you're right. Like, is it Phoenix or is it Murktide is a healthier deck to have like at the top than
Mm-hmm.
Rhinos in specifically those scenarios.
That being said, I don't. I th- I think that they're gonna hit Cascade and then they're gonna do nothing else. I think they're gonna hit Violent Outburst and then just like, all right, I did my job,
And that very well could be
which I
like the
don't
thing
think
that
is
happens.
a good thing.
And I want to lead towards a bigger list because it seemed like it was kind of a big deal. Like they, at least before, I don't remember them doing like a follow up stream to like why cards got banned. I know Gavin did one for like Pauper, but and because I
Mm-hmm.
guess that one was like a decent banning for them. So I can only imagine that it's going to be relatively big. That they're going to do a whole live stream and kind of set up and everything to kind of explain what happened. So it makes me want to lean towards like Pioneer and Modern are going to get something hit, or one of those two formats is getting like major changes, while like another one's getting a more minor change.
Yeah, I do think that um I think they're gonna do some big shakeups, but I 100% just don't know or don't understand what they're gonna be doing.
Yeah, I think that maybe potentially there's some things that are pretty obvious or to what we would think is obvious, but at the end of the day, I would say like the consistency of which they ban cards that feel like the correct ones to ban, they've kind of missed on it more often than they've hit. And again,
Mm-hmm.
they at least before, had the people to like play test and make these decisions and everything like that. So, we'll we're just kind of stuck seeing and unfortunately not getting to play any relevant games of Magic until that ban list comes out.
Yeah, like we were just kind of stuck with sitting here and waiting.
Yeah, no reason to go out and
But
pick up things for rhinos when you don't even know if like Violent Outburst is going to be a legal card, and if rhino, I'm sure rhinos will be fine, but not even entirely sure if rhinos will be as good as it was.
yeah,
So
we will just kind of have to wait and see.
yeah, I think overall, I would I would like to see a pretty big. I'd like to see a pretty big modern ban list, like any combination of those cards, like any combination of like the two of those five that I listed, I would be relatively okay with. Some combinations more than others, but that's just the nature of
Hmm.
the beast, unfortunately. Um, so I think we're pretty much there. That's like our
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much sums up our.
thoughts, feelings, opinions.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah, a little. It's a little sad, honestly. I mean, just like the idea that modern was just kind of like the format that was like untouchable, and pioneer was like the bad kid, and we needed to constantly reprimand the bad kid, and now it's like modern's kind of getting exposed as like the puppet master to actually being like the toxic one, and like the little brother was actually the good one. Just like kind of narrative I just created in
Yeah.
like the 0.2 seconds that I popped into my brain. So I don't know. It's weird. Modern getting its hand slapped for being stuck in the cookie jar is not something that even as long as I've been playing is not something that's like normal.
Yeah, but it is nice. I want to see what they do overall and what they shake up with the format. I am interested to see.
We ban all Modern
I'm hoping
Horizons
this.
cards.
I mean, that probably would fix a lot of the format, honestly.
Oh, stop. They're so much fun.
I mean, as someone who owns all the good cards in Modern Horizons 1 and 2, yes. Yes,
And
they are.
and you just flat
But
out
I
get
mean,
rid
they
of Yawgmoth.
definitely. Yeah, you get rid of Rhinos too. Rhinos are permanent in Modern Horizons.
Yeah, well, no one's gonna miss it. There's gonna be one person.
No one's gonna no one's gonna miss Yawgmoth. That's okay.
I mean, other than just being like a shitty person, he's pretty cool.
Well, look, we'll just ban everything in Modern until Burns the best deck again.
All right, perfect. So literally just no metagame. It's only burn.
We've banned every other card besides red cards.
We ban every single fetch land besides Arid Mesa. We ban every shock land besides Sacred Foundry. And, just do the same thing down the line for every other land that exists. Like, you can only play Boros colors.
Perfect. We've made the good format.
Great job, everyone. Go home, collect your paycheck. No more
I don't know
layoffs.
why Wizards thinks this is hard.
I mean, like, we literally just, fixed all of its problems. Like, Burn's a good deck to have at the top of the metagame. Well, it's the only deck in the metagame.
Yeah, figure that one out, guys.
Well, all right. I think that about wraps us up here. Uh, Thank you all for watching episode 4. We will wait with bated breath for the March 11th ban list to come out, and either ultimately be disappointed, or we're gonna have a lot to talk about and a lot to work through in the coming weeks. As the Pioneer RCQ season is going to start up in probably about a month and a half. So if we
Yeah, so standard goes until like the end of March. So starting April is when we'll have Pioneer RCQs.
So yeah, I mean we got plenty of time. I mean for like Pioneer, if there's some major changes there, we have Pioneer. We have like Thunder Junction that's going to come out, I believe, before the Pioneer RCQ season starts as well. So we're definitely going to have some changes with the ban list plus a new set. Modern, we're not really going to get probably until like August, roughly, like at least a few months from the start of the Pioneer RCQ season as well. So Definitely gonna be some cool things
Hmm.
to kind of keep an eye out for as we kind of explore what these new formats are going to look like. If we get anything remotely resembling the ban list we think that we're gonna get.
All I know is that we need to make Oko playable in Pioneer.
The 4 mana one.
Yes, the new one.
All right, we'll find a way. We'll find a way to break it, and we will commit crimes, and we will loot.
Yes. So if anyone runs into me at any of your Pioneer RCQs, expect me to be casting Oko on turn 4 and losing.
And then I'm obliged to like stab you before I plus it, so I can only discard one card.
Exactly. Gotta commit that crime.
Uh, Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for episode 4 of the Casual Spikes podcast. If you've made it this far and you want to see more content, I will be putting all the podcasts in the podcast playlist so you can check out previous episodes, previous discussions on the modern and pioneer format through different RCQs or RCs, excuse me, not RCQs. The different regional championships, we try to go in depth and break down quite a bit. So if you want to see kind of future episodes like that, I probably next week I'd imagine we're going to be kind of going over like the fallout and some of the early winners, losers, things like that too. So any of that interests you, subscribe to the channel, ring notification bell so you know when those videos get uploaded. Of course, check out Randy's channel, Modern with Randy. I'm gonna have it linked in the description down below, and go check his stuff out because he's going to hopefully post videos here soon. If not, I'm adding a counter to the overlay.
Next Wednesday, the 13th of March, there should be a video up on my channel.
I've been promised things before too, buddy. I'm gonna hold you to it. But
All right, I'm gonna do it
all right,
this time for sure.
for realsies this time. Oh,
Yeah, for realsies.
all right, everyone. Hope you all have a good night, morning, afternoon, or wherever you are in the world watching this episode. We'll look forward to seeing you all next week, where we deal with the fallout and the aftermath of modern, and hopefully it's better than the March of the Machines aftermath.
No changes. Buy our products.
It's another play. Wait, it was just another Play Boosters ad. It's been one the whole time. All right. Good night, everyone. We'll see
All
you next
right.
week. Stay tuned. Have fun. All that great stuff. And we'll catch y'all later.